Hey everybody, welcome to Art Talk Tuesday. My name is Jackie G and I'm with Gwartzman's Art Supplies here in Toronto. Today's a little bit different and we do have a guest joining us. But until then, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what's going on in our store and anything else that you might be interested in. For those of you that don't know us, Gwartzman's has been in the art material business for over 50 years. And we've been in the same location on Spadina Avenue for over 75 years. So we do quite have a great history with art materials here in Toronto. And I should say worldwide. We've had artists visit us from all over the world, either just to say hi, to have products shipped to them, to buy things. And it's really been a great experience for me growing up in this business. Now, because we're in a different spot today, usually I'm on our main floor. Today I'm in a different area just because we do have a guest. If you can't hear us, please let us know. And I've got some people here that will certainly help me with the tech because I am definitely not good at it. So before anything else, I just wanted to tell you, this is watercolor month at Gwartzman's. So we have had a few things going on. Last week, Scott Stevenson joined us from Daniel Smith Watercolors. He flew in all the way from San Francisco to join us, and it was really, really a great evening. If you ever have the chance and we do it again, please join us. He is a wealth of information and really can tell you anything about Daniel Smith products and the making of the product and everything else you need to know. Anything else, so I knew I was going to forget if I didn't have all my notes written down. We do have a big sale going on now. So any of the products that we have today, which are Holbein and are included in our sale, check it out. It's on our website, gwartzmans.com. You can see everything that is. There's a lot of promos going along with it, so I would certainly take advantage of it. There are some really fantastic deals, aside from the gifts that we are giving away if you spend a certain amount on your purchase. That is until the end of the month, and of course next month there will be some other exciting things happening. If you have any questions, you can type them in while we're chatting. I'll do my best to read them from the screen. Otherwise, my staff, I'm sure, will help me out. Before I forget, because I always do, I'm going to say hi to everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today in this great Art Talk Tuesday. And if you like what you see, please follow us on Instagram. You can see all our IGTV on... We post them onto IGTV through Instagram and also from YouTube. I'm going to see if our guest has joined us. And I'm not sure that they have just yet.
I don't see anything.
So we're going to wait and see that hopefully they're going to pick us up in the next little bit. Anyways, so I can just keep chatting about what's going on here at the store. There's always new things coming in. Of course, I'm not supposed to talk to you about any of those new things just yet because, well, we still have lots of things arriving. And today, really, the focus is on Holbein. And yes, that is, someone has commented that there is a Van Gogh behind me. And yes, there is. So in case you're wondering, and it's not a real Van Gogh, so don't get too excited about it. I can point out, because I do have it on the table, we do have the Holbein matte acrylics now in stock. Matte has become a very popular way of application. So getting away from some of the shine or not adding something to your acrylic to make it matte. So this is really kind of cool. I would certainly check that out. I believe it is on the website. We're just waiting to get it downstairs into the store. We also have the Duo Oil, which I have a big set sitting on my desk. And this is also new for us. So now we not only have the sets, but we also have all of the open stock. Currently, this is going to be only available on the website. If it's something that you like and you're in the store, you can ask the staff and they'll do their best to get it for you. And that way you can try the Duo Oil. Duo Oils are the water mixable oils, and they are great. So it's a trend now that, you know, everybody's getting away, wanting to work with less toxic materials, how they can, you know, wash up easily. These are great products to look at. Their dual oil is artist quality, so it is a series paint, and actually it's been very, very popular. So I would certainly take a look at it. I see that Holbein says hello, and I'm hoping that they're going to try and join us shortly. So if anyone can help Tim get online, that would be great. I see my staff are in here trying to help me out, so I can't see you right now, but I'm sure you can see me, so I'll just keep
You're doing great, Jacqueline. You're doing really
talking
good.
about art supplies, because that's what I love to do. Other things that, in case you're not familiar with the Holbein product, they're from Japan, and they make a whole range of materials. Now, we stock a number of all of the paint that they make. We haven't gone into some of the other products. I did happen to see some of them at a trade show, so we're just waiting for them to join us. And I see my brother Neil is making a lot of jokes there, so we'll just keep laughing at what he types. At any rate, so Holbein does make this amazing acrylic. We did bring them in. It was a customer request, so thank you customers, because now we stock it and it's been extremely popular. We have all of the gouache in open stock and sets. We have all of the watercolors in open stock and sets. So it's been...
Sorry, Jackie.
That's okay. Lots of technical difficulties going on here.
Just a little bit.
So we are looking to...
Can I add them manually?
Bring them in. They're just working all over the place behind me here. I apologize for this. It's just always different when I'm not speaking to the camera, when I'm waiting to connect with someone else, and all those connections are always kind of interesting. So we're trying to see if we're connecting with Holbein, so just give us a second. So I will tell you that our guest is Tim Hopper, who is executive director, executive vice president. I know he's a big guy in Holbein Artist Materials in the US. And it's funny because Tim and I have actually known each other for a very long time. We both kind of grew up in the business. I've been seeing him at the trade shows all this time. And so it's kind of neat when you get to connect with someone this way, that you can meet them and see the person that I get to see every time that I go to a trade show, whether it be in North America or in any of the international ones in Germany. So it's really kind of cool. So as I say, Tim has been gracious enough to give us some time today so that we can talk about Holbein and what he's been doing. And as I say, we're just waiting to connect with him. We started our relationship with Holbein just a few years ago. They have a vast product range, and it was always something that was in some ways kind of daunting. They make these big displays. We weren't sure where to do it and put them into our store. But somehow we found the space, so now it's actually interesting. Some are in different locations throughout the store, but we are making sure that their products are visible, and I know a lot of you love them, so it's really been cool to have it here in our building, and they look beautiful, which is wonderful. I know a lot of you online, when you're ordering, have been really appreciative of us offering their product. So we're still waiting to see if Tim is there. I see something. There's one there. Sorry, guys.
This is Tim.
I hope that's Tim.
Okay, so they've just reviewed a request.
We're just trying to make the connection. I know.
I think they joined from a different account.
This is, the way it goes when you're doing things with tech. I am not a tech. I'm into art supplies. So this is what's so crazy about it. Anyways, does anybody have any questions about Holbein products that maybe I can try and answer while we're waiting to connect with Tim? Do you have any favorite products from Holbein that you like to use? You can let us know. I always like to hear what customers are using and what they're trying. It gives me, I think I know, but it gives me an idea of what you're looking for, what you're into. Maybe it's something you can share with other artists so that they can try it out. I always, I'm sort of now into really bright colors. I love collections that have bright colors, and I will tell you, in Holbein, there are lots of bright colors. They make in the acrylic these really great luminous colors. So these are fantastic if you're checking them out in their acrylic. Of course, the Iridori works amazing with that. They have beautiful Japanese colors, if that's what you want. Oh, yes. And I see we have Tim.
Finally. Okay. Great. My humble apologies. I don't know if you can see me well here, but I'm using, as opposed to my laptop, we're using a phone. So okay. There we go.
Okay, well, we're using a phone too, but that's fine. See, Tim, that's where you and I don't really have to do all this stuff. We get everybody else to sort of figure out the problems.
That's right. I'm showing my age right now, right?
No. We're showing that we're just very busy.
This is very true. Well, listen, Jacqueline, it's an honor to be here with you, and I heard you discussing some of our products, so I appreciate you filling in, and I do apologize to all those people who are out there, and my apologies.
That's okay. Neil says hi, by the way, because he keeps typing in there, so we'll get that out of the way. So I have to say it after.
I might say hi, and no, I do not have a Commodore 64.
Okay, no problem. So I didn't want to give your whole bio before we started because
sure.
You and I know each other, as I was saying to everyone before, from seeing each other at NAMTA. I think I looked at your LinkedIn. You've been in the business for 38 years. It seems like we've known each other longer than that, either attending Paper World or NAMTA or one of those. So I thought that I'd sent you some questions, which I do have with me.
Sure.
And I thought maybe you could just tell everyone a bit about you, and then we can talk about, how you got involved and
sure.
basing it some of the questions that we did. So maybe you can tell us a bit about yourself.
Great. As you said, so my name is Tim Hopper. I'm the Executive Vice President and one of the principal owners of Holbein in North America. I was originally born in Montreal and raised, of course, in Montreal, and had a long lineage there, but now we're based here in Burlington, Vermont. My company, HK Holbein, represents the Holbein brand here in North America. We have two warehousing facilities, one in Cornwall, Ontario for the Canadian distribution, and a little bit of a larger facility here in Burlington, Vermont for American distribution. And it's a bit of a story, but I'll go very quickly through it. I've been with the company now for 38 years, as you said. When I graduated from Concordia University in Montreal, I attended McGill doing some management classes while I was studying to be a stockbroker, and I was working part-time in our warehouse in Montreal at that time. And my dad only drove Cadillacs back then, and our warehouse between Montreal and Burlington, it's a 90-minute drive, so he would bring product back and forth. And one day he threw me his keys and said, "Tim, please go take some boxes out of my car and bring them up to the warehouse." I said, "Fine," but the keys were unlike the ones that he usually drove. It was a 4x4 vehicle, and I went upstairs after and said, "Hey, Dad, it's sort of a little out of your wheelhouse." And he goes, "Well, that's a bribe. That car is for you if you come and join the business." And I said, "Okay, I'll give you 1 year." And I'm in my 38th year now.
I don't think my dad offered me a car when I decided to join the company.
Well, I had to go out and earn the payments for it. So wow. it was well done. So, very pleased.
How long has your family been involved with Holbein?
Well, it's a bit of a story, but I'll go back a little bit of a history here. We've been representing the Holbein brand since 1977, so it's been 46 years here in North America, and we were the first people to bring the full brand into North America. A little bit of a history, it's important to touch back. As I said earlier, I grew up in Montreal as a young man, and my grandfather was a very well-known Canadian artist. His name was Douglas Lawley, and he painted with, believe it or not, his peers, the Group of Seven. And he is most well known for his Sable Island pony paintings. He was an oil painter, lived in Montreal. And my dad at the time was president and CEO of Hughes Owens in Canada. And they were a large commercial supply house and art material supply company as well. They had the Winsor Newton line, and of course that was their star and their cap. And in one trip in the early, say mid '60s, excuse me, to London, my father brought my grandfather over, and he said, my grandfather walked right up to the factory worker, the first one he saw, and he said, "How come you can't make your oil colors uniform?" And the gentleman said, "Well, it's totally impossible." And so with that, my father never forgot that comment. And then several years later, in 1976, the NAMTA, National Art Material Trade Association show, was in Montreal, Canada that year. And as fate would have it, my father was introduced to then export manager, Mr. Sujiro Yamauchi from Holbein. And my father said something very simple to him, Jacqueline. He said, "Have you been traveling?" He said, "Yes." And he said, "How long?" He said, "A month." And my father said, "Where?" And he said, Sujiro said, "Mexico." And my father said, "You've been sick?" And he bowed. He went, "Every day." So my dad said, "Look, why don't I pick you up and take you out for a great Japanese meal tomorrow night?" And that was the beginning of a fantastic relationship that led him 6 months later to go over and give Holbein the biggest order they'd ever seen in the history of their company for palette cups, brush washers, canvas pliers, and black metal folding palettes, but all with the moniker of Winsor Newton on the logo on their packaging. And with that, before my father left, they gave my father a full set of their oil paints. And my father, of course, was very gracious in accepting the gift, all the time thinking to himself, my goodness, there's no way they're going to be a Winsor Newton equivalent. And with that, he went back to his hotel with the intention of leaving the oil set there. And he decided after a couple of scotches over dinner that he would do a little painting, and he would write out some hints in color production for them. And when he painted for an hour, and after he finished, he put down his brush and he picked up his pen and he wrote out his letter of resignation.
Wow.
And the reason he did that is that he found that every single oil color was uniform. It was all ground the same consistency. So with that, Dad knew it was time to change his position, and he then flew to England. Windsor was not very happy, and he went back to Montreal, then flew to Japan and spent a month there, and we brought the Holbein brand back to North America in 1977 for the very first time.
Wow, that is such an amazing story. And anybody who's just joining us now, I'm having a chat with Tim Hopper, Executive Vice President of Holbein Artist Materials. Is that how it's called? Or HK
That's correct.
Holbein?
Yep, HK Holbein.
HK Holbein. And it's funny, you know, I always like to point out to any of our viewers or anybody who comes in the store, really in art materials, so many of us are from family businesses that we've, you know, that have been in the long haul. This is not just something that's happened. And that was actually something I wanted to ask you because I couldn't remember if I had looked it up. Is Holbein a family-owned business as well? Was it started as a family business? Certainly family businesses rule our industry. And, you know, I had the pleasure of meeting your dad on one of my first sales calls to Gortzman many, many years ago. He was very fair with me and spoke very clear on what he wanted. And so you're right, a family business is what really defines our industry. Holbein was originally formed in 1900 in Osaka, Japan, by the Yoshimura family. And the Yoshimura family really owned the business up until maybe the 60s and 70s, and they began to grow and diversify. But they're still a very tightly held, privately held firm in Osaka, Japan, where their headquarters is. And just outside the city of Osaka, they have their water media factory and their oil media factory. Wow, amazing, just amazing. And does your company, do you represent all of the Holbein products?
It's a great question. You know, so many. Yeah, it's a great question. Pardon me, Jacqueline. It's a great question because so many people don't know. Holbein produces 19 lines of artist-grade pigment. Holbein, we only support 15 of them here in North America. Just want to make a quick point to that. I didn't make a mention of any student quality products because Holbein simply does not believe in them. They only believe in making artist quality products. So I bring 15 of their 19 lines in. I have a full complement of their paper products. They're a paper sourcer and manufacturer. I also have some of their brushes, lots of their accessories and sundries, their etching presses, and the world's most versatile airbrushes are made by Holbein. But a great question. There are three separate divisions that we don't dip into. Holbein has a huge framing division, a very large stretch canvas and canvas division, and a very large plaster division. And the plaster division is fascinating. So if you so choose and need a 20-foot statue of David, we can orchestrate the sale for you if you have an interest. Yeah, I know. But by and large, it's feet and hands and heads that are, plaster items that are used for drawing and reference material in colleges and universities for classes.
I didn't realize that they made the ceramic or plaster sculptures.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. You should have those.
Yeah, it's strictly for art tools. Yeah, I know, and they're not cheap. But yeah, we've had large hands and feet before, and schools have bought them. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's just as an aid, certainly for the artists and the budding artists out there.
Wow, that's great. And I know when we chatted at NAMTA, we had been talking about going to Japan, and I remember you graciously said if we ever went that you would help us out. How often do you actually visit Japan and visit the Holbein factories?
Well, to the envy of many of your listeners today and people watching, I'm a lucky person. I've been to Japan well over 40 times in my life, and I usually go typically twice a year. I just returned, you're right, maybe about 8 weeks ago, and I will go again in the fall. And typically, I spend anywhere from a week to 2 weeks in Osaka. I meet with our counterparts over there. We do a lot of strategic planning and work on product development, discuss trends, new ideas, legal issues, do all sorts of things to make sure we're on the same page. And I just put a footnote in here for all of your listeners, like I mentioned to you, Jacqueline, that if you've never been to Japan, you need to make it a priority. It is a most amazing country, most humility, pardon me, is what they carry themselves with, and they're just a fantastic country, great culture.
How many more products can Holbein actually manufacture, since they have such a vast array of right now?
It's a great question. They're constantly evolving and looking at. They're working on a brand new line right now. I'm really not privy to tell you, but it is in the pencil world. That's forthcoming. But they, one of the most unique lines, I guess I give you an example of that they offer is called pigment paste. It's a line of 24 colors where it is the base colorant for all aqueous medias. It's a very expensive product, but you can take this and mix it with emulsions or starches and things like that to produce your own water-based media. But they're constantly evolving and looking for trends and ideas. Currently, our gouache and our acrylic gouache are huge lines for us, very popular today. And really, another example on development and growth, there's a great set of our traditional gum arabic gouache. What makes this line, what makes that line really unique, and it's important to mention, it's the only gouache in the world where they've not added any whiting agents to their colors. So you don't have a milky, muddy gray overtone to your surface when you're painting with it. And that's the acrylic gouache, which is more like a water-resistant gouache that doesn't shift in color tone from wet to dry color. But they're constantly evolving. And I'll just say this, Jacqueline, the Japanese professional watercolor market, if you may, is the oldest globally. It's 16 centuries old.
Wow. And
so really the Holbein Artist watercolor is the line that has really carried their reputation for a long time. And in fact, they are now expanding the line by at least 150 colors. So they're constantly looking to new pigments. They're working on new formulations all the time to improve their offering.
It seems that in Japan, there's a lot of pigments that are available that we're not familiar with. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And, it's interesting. I'm very fortunately, about 8 or 10 years ago, I was brought into a very small warehousing facility in California. It was an off retailer to our industry, but he had something amazing in the middle of this warehouse, and that was the largest repository of all the automotive paint since the Model T Ford in his warehouse. He bought the whole collection. So if you're a car builder or a car enthusiast, you can go to them. They'll give you the original paint. The reason I mention that is that, most of the pigments that the art material trade uses today, or you find in the art material trade in your store, and certainly artists, your consumers use, all of our knowledge typically for a lot of those pigments have come from the automotive industry. So they really have been a very unique leader in this. So like the new Pyro Reds, for instance, and the Hanses have all come from the automotive industry. So, but the Japanese are constantly looking for new pigments, and they're always looking to replace pigments because they do run out. And when they say pigments are scarce, and by and large.
Now, I just wanted to go back to what you said about the automotive industry being an influence.
Yeah.
I know with COVID that affected a lot of manufacturing in the automotive, and certain products that we were always able to get were affected by COVID, and that affected the automotive industry. Did that affect the Japanese manufacturing of pigment then?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's interesting. Of course, the pandemic was terrible for everybody, and not going through that as an experience for us. It was all new. Every day was new. But one of the things that we came away with is that the Japanese are very, very self-reliant. So in Holbein's case, as a brand, I would say fully 98% of the material that they need to produce their products were sourced domestically, including the polymers, which are a real big problem for my peers to source.
Yeah.
So really, we were very lucky. The problem that the Holbein brand had during COVID, our growth was unbelievable. I think the biggest issue we faced was simply the international shipping problem. Trying to get stuff here was a nightmare. It probably would have been easier if I had purchased a yacht and taken it all and brought the product back. But we managed to get it all over here, and we did the right thing by bringing it by air, and we served all of our customers well in North America during that time.
If you ever decide to do the yacht thing, I think I wouldn't mind tagging along for that. I'm sure you'd have a lot of people who would want to join you.
Sure, it may only be 24 to 30 feet long, but
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So, we've got a lot of people joining us, and for those of you that are just joining us now, I just wanted to let you know that I'm chatting. My name is Jackie G with Gortson's Art Supplies in Toronto, and I'm chatting today with Tim Hopper, Executive Vice President of HK Holbein. So if you have any questions, I see some lovely comments coming in. I'm going to wave because I can't do that while I'm chatting, and I'm never good at that because I'll probably just turn everything off. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I did have, I think, a couple more questions.
Sure.
I know that you have mentioned that you you dabble a little bit in art yourself.
Yep. And it's a funny story. I will tell you, for probably 35 years of my career, out of the 38, I had steadfastly refused to paint. My father was a painter. My brother's a painter. My nephew, Matthew's a painter. So I had just felt it wasn't really for me. And I had been an epiphany through the COVID time. And I thought, I need to start painting. And man, did I fall in love with it. And lucky enough, I can go right behind this wall here into my warehouse and grab the color I needed. And I dabbled in watercolor and gouache. I did some pencil work. But I fell in love with oil paints. I love the Holbein oil paints. And I also love soft pastels. The Holbein soft pastels are square. So they're really used, and I've learned for layering, it's the initial layering our pastels are perfect for. And then I have very good friends in the industry who produce some phenomenal pastels, and I use those just on top. Terry Ludwig pastels, use them on top of my Holbein pastels. So unfortunately, running a business with my brother and my nephew and all our people here, I don't have a lot of time to paint. But boy, when I slip into that studio of mine, I find that the time just drips through my fingers like water. It's amazing.
Isn't that great? So oils are your preferred choice then?
Oil, then soft pastels, correct.
Interesting. Okay. Good to know. Is there anything else, any other tidbits you'd like to share with us about Holbein products or anything about yourself?
Sure. There's some things I'd like to share, and I'm going to start off with made a couple of notes here next to me. I was lucky enough to be voted on to the National Arbitral Trade Association's Board of Directors in 2002, and I was lucky enough as well to be asked by the Executive Committee to serve as the President of the Association in 2006 and 2007. It was a fantastic, fantastic experience for me personally, but I wish to say I take a lot of my opinions on the industry from an industry perspective, and I wish to offer to all those people listening and watching today. I want to explain that today art stores in all of our communities are under fire. They're having a difficult time to compete against the very large online selling platforms that are out there. And I'd like to point out to everybody that me too, it's so easy to go online to your computer and buy things that you think you can't get at the store. But the reality is art stores in every neighborhood are as valuable as the library that they sit in. And so, in fact, the art stores we need to do a better job as consumers to support the art stores, to be there to support your efforts, Jacqueline. This live feed would not exist if it wasn't for your efforts and a keenness to reach out to all of your consumers to give them a picture on our great industry and the people behind the paint tubes that they love and so enjoy. So I think it's really, really important I mention that please support your art stores. It's very important. I think the other thing is I'd like to mention is that education is becoming a bigger thing for many brands, and it's not been lost on us as well. We've worked very hard at beginning to work on an education division. My nephew Matthew Hopper has been an outstanding job. He's worked with an online media and marketing specialist, Leslie Donnell, who has also done an outstanding job with Matthew to build an online profile for us to give back more information to the consuming public out there who may not know about Holbein. And lastly, I could just say this, that I think that, we live by a lot of these references and sort of just sentences that resonate with us. And one of the things that my father used to say is that, when you get a little color underneath your fingernail, it's hard to get rid of it. So no matter where you go in life, you'll look down and you'll see that color and it'll remind you that there's something very important out there. And I also wish to thank all of your consumers who are listening to you today, and you and your family and all your staff, along with all the other art stores in this industry, for really standing strong during COVID. It was a very difficult time for the whole industry, but we were providing a most important service to so many people who had maybe never picked up a brush before, but had so longed to for a long time, or so many people who just, this is a regular routine, who really needed art and art supplies and all the great things that are available at stores like yours during a time of crisis. So kudos to all of you who supported you, and great job in supporting all of your customers as well.
Thank you, Tim. I don't think I could have said it better myself.
Oh, thank you very much.
And we do carry a number of your products. I think I've sort of focused on the paint products at the moment, carrying a wide variety.
Right.
And of course, I always mention to our customers that if there's something that they really want, we do listen. So that's
Sure.
why we have such a vast range now of Holbein products in our store and online. So it's really great that way. And I just wanted to say, I find it very exciting just to be able to look at all these gorgeous colors. And that was one thing that I found with COVID, that my idea of color brightened. So a lot of the colors now that we look at are the brighter colors. I like to point out to customers, the trends, because looking at your acrylic with the luminous pink or all the luminous colors, the fluorescent, the brighter colors and the gouache or the acrylic gouache have been extremely popular. I think people are just really gravitating to color.
Yeah.
So
I'd agree with that. And I think the other thing I could say, our industry is populated with so many fantastic companies. And, I'll just say this for many people, many different industries out there are not like our art material industry. It is very common for us every year when we gather for the NAMTA show, for myself, the Holbein people, to join Winsor Newton and Golden and have dinner together, have drinks, and talk about the industry. And so it's a really important industry, and we cater and respect each other and work hard to make sure everybody is supported out there. And I agree, it's an exciting time for your business, adding new lines. It makes it very exciting. And the other thing is this, that every color line has its level in the industry. And, one of the things that Holbein has always stated, and I think it's an important reference to always remember in your mind, and that is that the amount of time and the effort you put into your work, you owe it to yourself to always use the best possible paint that you can afford. And that's an important thing. I mean, there's a lot of great paint out there, and there's a lot of not so great paint, but they all have their purpose and their level. So we're just very, very pleased to be part of such a great industry. And as I said, I think increasingly people are looking for more avenues for creative endeavors and things like this. So I think that's where your supply and support for consumers of all ages has been critical for everybody.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time today. I haven't seen any questions pop up just yet. Lots of nice comments and people waving quite a bit. So
I saw
I
one
did want to.
just a quick Well, I have a couple. I could tell you a couple of questions. One of them was on the 1130 500 steel pallets.
Okay.
We are asked, I have two things. We are asked quite often about these beautiful old style folding metal pallets. Unavailable. The person who was making them died at 87. Typical Japanese story, and no one had known the techniques or learned, and so they're strictly unavailable. You can't find them anymore. And I think the other question was thoughts on the future of natural hair brush prices. That's very interesting. You know, if it's okay, do you mind if I touch on that comment a little bit?
Sure. I mean, we do carry, I know that for the Japanese, there would be differences. We do carry a wide
Yep.
range of natural hair brushes from Europe.
Yeah, and just a general comment. I work very closely with some of the brush manufacturers in India, and I think natural hair. There seems to be a global movement towards people moving away from natural hair, and so that's why, with respect to the sables are going to be very expensive. Now, again, you know, a lot of people don't realize two types of sables. There's the standard run-of-the-mill sable, and then there's the Kolinsky sable, which is strictly the male tails. Unfortunately, they've been very overbred, so the quality has diminished over time. But unfortunately, or fortunately, we live in a time where natural hair is not as revered as it used to be, and there's some phenomenal synthetic blends and things of that nature coming out that will certainly help people
Yes. Yeah.
not use them.
If you ever
But,
want to try them, I have a great line from Italy that you can check out.
great idea.
Really
But
beautiful.
no, as I said, I think there's a lot there, and two other things I want to mention. We have just initiated in our education program a brand ambassador program. We're very pleased with it, and I cast the net out to everybody if they're listening. If anybody has an interest in representing the Holbein Legion Paper and General Pencil brand ambassador program, they can certainly contact us through our website. And specifically look for somebody in Toronto who can come in and support you, and would like to learn more about our program and et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, that would be great. I think I have a few people in mind, and of course, anybody who's
Fantastic.
watching, if they want to do that, let us know. We can always help to put you in touch with Holbein, HK Holbein, or Holbein Artist Materials in the U.S. So I did want to just mention while we're on, because I know we'll be ending in just a couple minutes. For those of you that stayed, we are offering a giveaway. Thank you very much to Jamie Liu. And we
So,
have
Canadian General Manager.
Jamie Liu is the general manager for Canada. And we have a set of 5 mil, set of 5 gouache, and a set of gouache and watercolor. So the question is going to be, what is the name of the company that I've mentioned a few times that is our guest today? Not the name of our guest, but the name of the company. You can either say the one that I mentioned with the initials, or you can say the whole company. You would text it after we finish, because we won't be able to pick a winner right away, but the first 2 people will get a set. We'll send it anywhere in North America. It has to be the full name, not just one word. That's what we're looking for. So, Tim, thank you. I really do appreciate it. I know this has been great. I'm so excited to see you now, as opposed to just seeing you once a year at NAMTA or at Paper World. So this is just like having a family reunion a little bit differently.
Oh, it was just awesome, and I just like to leave you with a name of an artist who I'm very fond of in Toronto. Her name is Janice Sung, S-U-N-G.
Yes.
And she is very, very popular, wonderful artist, uses her watercolor and her gouache. And so just if people like references, they can see things in her world and what she does with the Holbein products, which is great. But I want to thank you for all that you do for your community, and I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm so honored and would welcome an opportunity anytime to support you again.
I'll take you up on that, Tim.
That's
All
great.
right. We will talk soon.
Thank you. Cheers, everybody, and thank you for your time, and enjoy the lovely weather.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you again. We're going to take a bit of a break for the next few weeks, but join us next month. We'll be doing plein air products, and I'm sure that we'll have a little bit of Holbein products mixed in there again. So we look forward to seeing you again soon. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube and gwartzmans.com. Bye-bye for now.